favorite resources to look for when I'm out in the forest is fatwood. Some people call it greasewood or even fat lighter. It's all different names for the same thing, which is the heartwood out of the center of a pine. And that heartwood is very rich with pine resin, which is also a very flammable substance. So if you can find this stuff when you're out in the woods, it makes a great fire tinder or a way to start your fire. This is a really good example of a lot of fatwood here behind me. So what I'm going to do is collect up some of this and show you how I like to use it to get my fire started. Okay, I've gone ahead and broken a limb off of this tree, and we're going to process this down just a little bit so you can see what it looks like. Okay, now that I've broken it open, you can see how rich that heartwood is in there with the pine resin. What I'm going to do is process this into what my grandfather called splinters. All my life when I was a kid, he always warmed his house with a wood heater, old-fashioned wood heater, and he would come out in the woods and find fatwood like this and process it down into splinters, and that's how he would start his fire each day. And just by doing this, this makes it a lot more easy to work with my knife to get some real fine splinters and kindling that I can use to start my fire with. So you can see what I'm getting here. So now I'm going to take this back to my camp, and I'll work with this underneath my tarp with my knife because it's actually starting to rain, and let's see if we can get a fire going. Okay, got a piece of this fatwood here that we'll work with, and I'm just going to use my knife. There's a couple of different techniques I'm going to use with this knife. The first one is kind of like you would do a feather stick, if you're familiar with that. Make sure you can see what I'm doing. Because I'm just using the blade and I'm just kind of scraping down real light on the surface of the wood, and it's giving me those curls. Real thin pieces, shavings off of the wood. You can see what I'm getting here with those curls, and that stuff will ignite very easily. In fact, sometimes I'll use just those with my ferrocerium rod and be able to light them. But sometimes when you're using your knife on this stuff, you know, like a piece like this is kind of wide to one side and it's kind of narrow on the other side where it's split. If you'll start working on this narrow side, a lot of times you can get it started a little easier. That's kind of what I'm doing with this. This side's kind of broad, so it's harder to work with, and then I'm starting here on the kind of the most narrow piece and working in from there. And that way it's easy to get a flat surface, and you can get your knife to run down that a little bit smoother. Oh, broke. You get the idea from it. Okay, with just a couple of minutes of working with my knife, you can see this stack of curls that I've got collected up here, and this stuff is going to be excellent in helping me get my fire started. Now the next technique I want to show you is, instead of using the blade of my knife, this part here, I'm going to use the back and the spine of my knife. And this really works best if your knife has kind of a sharp spine, in other words like a 90-degree angle on the spine of your knife. If you could take your knife and strike a ferrocerium rod with that, then most likely that knife will work well for this process too. But if you just take the back of that knife, that spine, and scrape on that fatwood, it creates this really fine dust. I'm going to try to show you what that looks like. You can see that. And if you have a ferrocerium rod, that is guaranteed fire right there if you collect up enough of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to process this a little bit more and get me a pile of that, and then I'll demonstrate to you how to actually use it. I think that'll do. All right, well, I've got my little curls here in place in my fire pit. I'm going to use my knife and this ferro rod. There we go. Whenever I light my fire, I like to throw something dry on top, help pull the flame up, build up heat fast, so I can get the wood and stuff burning. And so that's using Fatwood to get a fire going. What I'll do, just to make sure I'm good, is I'll take a couple more pieces of that I collected. And I know that they'll get burning really good. And I don't have to worry about this fire. It's going to be good to go. I want to thank you guys for taking the time to tune in. Hope you enjoyed the video. Good luck finding your own Fatwood. Hope to see you soon. God bless. Take care.